Congratulations, Aaron.
Thank you.
And please join me in welcoming onto the stage Sebastian Stan, Renata Reinsda, and Adam Pearson. Step right up to that blue line and you'll be in the light and folks are grabbing your photo. Congratulations again to all of you. And thank you to each of you and to everybody involved in making this film for sharing it with us here at Sundance. We appreciate it. Aaron, I'll start with you. I would love to sort of begin in an easy place for at least for asking a question, inviting you to kind of start the conversation tonight by sharing with us the kind of earliest seeds that you might have harvested as you were kind of beginning this journey with this film, and what connections you might see to some of your other work.
One early thing was that I worked with Adam before in Shame for Life, and I wanted to work with him again, namely, because I think he's great, but I also thought his role in Shame for Life, he plays a shy, kind of quiet person, more based on myself, and I felt that for that reason, his performance was a little underrated because people thought he was playing himself, and if you know Adam, he's quite gregarious, so I wanted to show off his range and show something that was a little more, it was also inspired by him. I also had, I looked at Shame for Life, I thought that in some ways, I guess I felt the film was marginalized in some ways because of the subject matter, and I was trying to figure out this bind of, how can I make the subject matter, which is very personal to me, more, have a bigger audience, because I felt like people were just afraid of that film for some reason. So I thought, I need a star, I need a Hollywood star, but then I was thinking also, you're caught in a bind because some people said just the very casting of Adam was exploitative, and then on the other hand, casting a Hollywood actor and putting them in prosthetics is also sort of the opposite of what we think of as representation, even though it's still commonly very used. So I felt like I was caught in a bind, and so I sort of thought, I'm going to do a movie that does both. I'm going to have a Hollywood actor in prosthetics, and I'm going to have Adam Pearson, I'm going to have them go at it, and see what comes of it, and see if we can somehow, build some kind of path forward.
Adam, I'm going to you next. I want to talk about how you and Aaron found each other originally, but also I want to pick up on something he was just talking about, and that is the notion of this more gregarious person like you playing a more sort of quieter. How did you describe yourself, Aaron? Someone who's a little more reserved, like Aaron.
Reserved and anxious and shy.
So I'd love to talk about that dichotomy for a minute. So I don't know, maybe weave in sort of how you guys found each other, and then finding that balance of yourself and Aaron, and trying to sort of navigate that.
Well, yeah, Aaron first got in touch with me regarding Change for Life. Under the Skin had come out stateside and had done quite well, by all accounts. And already in your head you'd written Rosenthal as British with neurofibromatosis. And then you went to see Under the Skin and saw me, and he said, "Your words, not mine. Acting circles on Scarlett Johansson." and then reached out, we hopped on Zoom and kind of thrashed it out, because I was an unknown commodity at that time. Very often people use the word risk when hiring like disabled actors. And I think any unknown talent is a risk, but only the first time. And then once you've got them on tape and they've done their thing, they're either an asset or a liability. And I very luckily, hence I'm here, gone into the asset category. And I'm thrilled that the universe brought us together in the screenplay it did. And I was saying on stage to all three of you, thank you for letting me be a part of this. And the only reason I'm damn good in this movie is because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. So thank you to all three of you.
I should say, after Under the Skin, I heard the scenes were improvised, and it was a very different film that I was making. So I really did not know if Adam could act at all. I didn't really know. I thought he was great in that movie, but I have a lot of dialogue, a lot of 5-6 page dialogue scenes that I want to cover in one shot. And I had no idea if Adam, was a real actor in that regard. And so when we made Chain for Life and he just sailed through it, that was like, I need to do more with him.
It's a beautiful collaboration of the two of you in Chain for Life, and it's great to see where you're taking it with this film, and now bringing Sebastian and Renata into this. I would love to hear from the two of you about joining this partnership that preceded this film and adding complexity to it in the way that each of your characters do. What drew you to it, and maybe share a little bit about the conversations that you had with both Aaron and Adam as you were shaping and crafting these performances and these roles overall.
Well, my great agent, Sean Perlman out there, sent me this script, and I was just immediately blown away. I mean, you can all see how great this writing is. It's unbelievable. It was really important, obviously. It was something that doesn't usually come my way. I also feel like we want to talk about Beko, who was an agent and a young man who was on his way to being a producer, who had a lot to do with the making of this movie. And then I just reached out and I kind of courted him, and fortunately he said yes. And then I told him, "Did you watch Worst Person in the World?" And he said yes, and I was like, okay, we gotta get her.
Yeah, and then I got the script and I read it and I was like, what is this? But it was so much heart, and it was so weird, and it was so fun, and this character was so, I'm still like shocked from seeing it again. Those scenes. No, but it's, it's my first American or international movie. I'm very proud that it's this one. Yeah.
To be honest, I really did not think Ingrid. I was really worried that it was a terrible role, because anybody I thought of casting, I thought it doesn't work, and I really thought it was a problem with the parts. And as soon as I saw Renata in Worst Person, and I saw her speak afterwards, and I imagined her in the role, I realized that could totally work. So I really think, I really don't know that anybody else could play the role.
Before we take a couple questions from the audience, Aaron, I want to ask you one more question, and that is just about finding the tone of the film, finding the mood and creating that mood. I would love to hear a little bit about references. Were there specific films or groups of films that you were thinking about? I mean, there's such a mood that is so distinctive, and even in the choices of music and the photography, I'd love to hear sort of a few little bits from you about that.
I mean, I've always loved films about transformation, so I love any Jekyll and Hyde movie, especially one from 19 1931. I love a film called Bigger Than Life by Eccles, which is one of my favorite movie as a transformation film. The Fly is a great transformation movie. So I was looking at those, and I love Buñuel, who often covers a scene in one shot, and to me that's just very economical, so I try to do that.
The question is for Sebastian about working with prosthetics and how you navigated your acting with that, specifically facial acting.
Well, I think we spoke a little bit about that. You know, that obviously that actually there wasn't very much I needed to do, but just sort of stand there. I think everything else kind of was speaking for me, you know, in a way. But I do go back to this story a lot because it was really informative for me, and it was, I think it touches a little bit on this film, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this message that we're talking about is, I did manage, you know, I did walk around New York, like, and I interacted with people, and it was really interesting and sort of scary to see how, you know, limited the interaction is. You know, it just really is limited between two extremes, which is either won't address it or overcompensation, you know, and the only people that really were the most honest were kids, you know, and I had this little interaction with this little girl, and, you know, her mom was just being a parent and trying to do the right thing, but in doing the right thing, she was actually preventing the little girl from just simply having an experience. She was just being inquisitive. She was brave and courageous, and it's just, you know, that's kids, right? It's like, they just want to know, you know, they don't have judgment. And so, you know, I guess it was a learning lesson for me, really.
The question is about genre shifts in the film, and the question is about sort of navigating that in the writing process, some of the thought process behind that in the writing.
A lot of it is just intuitive. You know, I spend a lot of time worrying about how I'm going to do that, and then it just seems to work out when I write it. But at the same time, a lot of it is playing with various disability tropes. You know, the sad, sort of disfigured man in his apartment, and sort of playing around with those elements. And then, you know, I think also in terms of thinking about how do I make a more commercial film without, you know, compromising too much. I gave myself, there are two things I say I had to do that I probably wouldn't have done in the past. One was show this transformation. I think if 10 years ago I would have just skipped that. He would have looked like this, and then he would have looked like that. So I said, all right, I'm going to show this transformation. The other was, I have to have a murder at the end of it. And I had no idea like who was going to get murdered, and I was just writing it, and that was murder that took place, and you know, I don't know if I needed it, but Umberto, stand up, Umberto.
Those upstairs is about music, and maybe Aaron just walk us through the collaboration with Umberto, the ideas you had in the writing process and before and after, maybe.
In terms of Umberto, I met him at the Artist Academy when I was with you, and I was hesitant, I have to say, to hire him because we were friends, and I didn't want to endanger our friendship. But although I knew he was very, very good, and then and also usually I would wait until after I made the film, but you know, they were sort of pushing me to hire someone early. So I called him and I said, all right, I'm going to hire you. Here's the script. What do you think? And I think like an hour later, I still have this iPhone message where he's playing this theme. He's talking me through the theme, just having read the script, and I thought, holy shit, that's the movie, and I really, I mean, I'm so grateful, and I was an idiot to ever doubt that I should hire him.
Sebastian, about what drew you to the role and how it connects or is different from other roles you've played.
You know, Tanya for me was a very big moment in my realization of things in terms of what I thought I wanted the process of this experience to be. And ever since then, I've really tried my best to make it a point to seek out filmmakers that I feel like have visions and are not afraid to ask difficult questions and are you know, really specific. They know what they want, they're after something specific, whatever it may be. And that's how I felt about Aaron, you know, when I read this and when I saw his movie, I was like, this is something that, you know, very different, very specific, and I knew I was gonna be better by the end of it. I knew I was gonna grow from it, and that's what happened, you know. And so I try to go from that approach forward with everything, you know. But you always go into it not knowing if it's gonna work or not, you know. I mean, maybe, you know, but I think with the right leadership it does, you know. And I feel very lucky to have been part of this movie, so I thank you for.
Question about withholding the truth about transformation, or is that part of the design?
I just felt that.
Do you think she would have believed him?
Yeah, the movie would have fallen apart, I think. But yeah, I don't know if it's logical.
Suppression is a really bad thing. It goes, you know what I mean? Like it's I mean, at least that you know, that was my thing. That was my take on that. And I don't, you know, it's like I think it is interpretation, but I think sometimes when you spend so much time denying yourself, you don't always have the courage in those moments.
I had one more question I was going to throw it at Adam, and that is, when Aaron was talking about earlier in the conversation about sort of setting up this kind of antagonism or this kind of duel, for lack of a better word, between you and Sebastian's character. I wondered how you thought about that playing out, and how maybe you guys navigated that, but also off screen, how you sort of prepared each other for that.
Yeah, it's always a weird one. The idea that you were talking about, if you hire me, you're exploiting me, but if you hire Sebastian, you're being like heinously ableist and unrepresentative. And to talk to the exploitation argument a little, I think it's only exploitative if someone feels they're being exploited. And I've certainly never felt that way. Working with you, so that's that one kind of kicked into touch. I think the only real way to approach this kind of thing is just to be like open and honest and candid. And I've said for a long time that there are two ways to sort of like lose your social anonymity, and that's to either have a disfigurement or be a celebrity. So I'm really close. So that was sort of like the hook that we gave to Sebastian. Like, yeah, you don't know what it's like to have a disfigurement, but you do know what it's like to not have privacy and to have your life constantly invaded, like for the better or for worse. To be like, oh, I'm going to write this about you online, and then whether it's true or not.
Public property, right?
Yeah, exactly. You become public property. And so those are the kind of chats that we had in order to sort of like get us both in the right headspace and get it right. I'm just glad it wasn't a physical battle, because I'd have lost that one.
I want to thank the four of you and your entire cast and crew.
Derek from IONCINEMA.com. If you want to support us, subscribe below. For more reviews, interviews, film festival coverage from Sundance, Cannes, Toronto, you want to check out these guys on this side.